All right. This is mainly going to be me randomly talking to myself. You're drunk too. Sometimes it's good to be in an altered state of consciousness, so long as you don't rely on it. So this is probably going to be me just spouting off whatever the fuck is on my mind, more than likely. Unless someone wants to jump on panel and deal with my drunk ass. I will say ahead of time, as I already said in Discord, I do not want to discuss Donald Trump. I've been I've been like emotionally unstable, for lack of a better word. I've been like, for whatever reason, I'm impulsive and I'm like really quick to jump onto like emotional cues for whatever reason. And that's usually not how I am. And I don't know why. It's really weird. But anyway, Donald Trump pisses me off, for lack of better terminology. And yeah, I don't want to get into all that shit right now. It's just not my thing at the moment. I've had a huge discussion about it while I was at work. Do not want to deal with that right now. So, recent thing in chat, just random shit that I'm thinking about just because it was brought up. Someone anonymously, because I'm a nice guy, said, "Figure out who you are," and it's a reference to my name, Center Left Atheist. See, there's this fallacious way of thinking that because you're in the center, at least big picture in general, that it somehow means that you're like riding the fence. And that's not the case. In fact, in my personal opinion, when people look at each and every single issue separately and they're honest and they actually know what they're talking about, they tend to go from side to side on different issues. If you 100% agree with the right on every single issue, or if 100% agree with the left on every single issue, there is a high likelihood that one, you don't know anything about any issue, or two, you're brainwashed. You have this sort of collectivist view that, like, that's my people, that's my group. I just automatically join everything they say, which to me, it's funny because you're making the case, ironically, of the opposite. You're making the case that, like, you're sheeple if you are in the middle. It's kind of the other way around. You're a sheep and you just automatically jump to like an entire side just because that's your people, that's your group, you're tribalistic. That's retarded. All right, Angela, let me know what you think about immigration. I've got some opinions on it as well, and I think it's a good topic to have. You're more than welcome to jump on a panel and talk about it if you would prefer. It's a whole lot more efficient than typing it all out. You don't have to, though. What do you mean we should prioritize families? I don't get where you're going. You mean in terms of immigrants? Like you should prioritize immigrants with families over lone young men? I agree. I think that's pretty common sense. It's worth noting there's a whole lot of propaganda involved in this topic. Like, for example, there's a lot of shit that's just not true being spun. Like, for example, that Biden is just allowing people to just come across like absolutely no no block at all. It's simply not true. In fact, look this up. Biden has sent more people back than Trump did. There's a whole lot of misinformation that's like getting spun for frickin' political reasons. And a lot of the problem is not Biden himself. And I'm not saying I like Biden because I don't. A lot of the problem is the system, and that there's no real there's not a good solution to it because of the House and the fucking Senate. They're in like deadlock, and like, yeah. The media is a major problem and always has been, and I mean that on both sides. Your CNN and your Fox News, it's all propaganda bullshit. It is. Unfortunately, if you're on the right, it's a little more complicated because there isn't as many options. I mean, for the most part, you've just got Fox News. There's a couple of smaller outlets, but it means that they have more power. There's a whole lot more liberal or leftist media outlets than there are right wing. And it sort of makes it to where they monopolize truth, so to speak, because people think that basically whatever their side says is true. I don't mean to paint everyone with that brush because not everyone believes everything, but in general, that's the case. But you'll hear it from me now. There is definitely an issue at the border. 100%. There's a problem. Um, Something has to be done. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know who is the best to handle it. See, one issue is Biden just released a bill, or it wasn't just Biden, but it was pushed mainly by Biden, that gave the GOP basically everything they want. So what happened is they shut it down. They basically admitted it without even trying to hide it. They basically said, we want the border to be a problem because if Biden fixes it, and I think his bill, it would come a long way at the very least in handling it. So what's going on is if there is still a border crisis, Trump has a whole lot more leeway to push for him to become president. They basically admitted that that's the case. So what happens is if they agree to the terms of Biden's bill, Biden looks like he just did something great for the United States. So they're shutting it down only for political reasons, only because they want to be able to claim that Biden did nothing about the border. You had to bring up Trump. What I hate most about Trump is that he constantly lies. He constantly says two different things. It's like his tactic. He'll say something and then contradict it with something else. And what people do is they automatically latch onto the one they like and they go, yeah, fucking love Trump. He said this. But they completely forget that he said the opposite as well. It's like he doesn't even have positions. He just says whatever the fuck and people latch on to what they like. It's like so dumb. And also, for some reason, people have this strange belief that if you're successful, you have to be intelligent. Donald Trump is one of the stupidest human beings I've ever come in contact with. You do not need to be intelligent to make money, especially in the United States. All you have to do is pay other people who are competent to do the work for you. And that's what Trump has done. Also, he is not this successful businessman that everyone makes him out to be. He's bankrupted 4 fucking times. When you have money, it's easy to make money. You don't have to be good at what you're doing. So it's like he runs on this bullshit illusion that he's like the guy that's like anti-establishment. And that's what people liked about him. They're tired of the same old. And I understand that, believe me. But he has sold this bullshit that he's like the guy that doesn't deal with establishment shit, even though all of his policies show that he is. And he's basically same old for the GOP, with few exceptions. I won't say he's exactly the same, but he's, for the most part, exactly the fucking same shit. And it's like, everyone's like, yeah, Trump tells it like it is. He does things on his terms. No, he doesn't. I mean, he does do everything for himself. That's why he cuts taxes for the wealthy, which is what everyone, right or left, should be against. That's like the number one thing that's fucking the country up. Had to get me started on Trump. Taking advantage of my drunkenness. I wouldn't mind it if he said something and it was just true and people were like, I like that. Because then it would just be about policy. What bothers me is he's constantly fucking just saying shit that he don't even believe. He lies constantly and people are like, fuck yeah, man, I love it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, do you not see that he's a fucking lying piece of shit? To be fair, that's most politicians, but not on this level. It's like he literally, I think, if you'll have to fact check me, but I think he still owns the PolitiFact lie of the year. Like he's told so many lies that were fact checked that he actually holds the fucking record politically. And people don't even care. They're like, yeah, he just lies about everything, but who cares? He tells it like it is. I'm like, are you fucking retarded? Like, that fucking matters. But to be fair, Biden is an incompetent piece of shit as well. He does not represent the left in America at all. You don't like quotas. I don't know what you mean exactly. Like when police have quotas and then they like fucking pull people over at the end of the month for stupid shit just so they can be like, yeah, I did my job. You probably mean it on the bigger scale. If you are hired to be a construction worker and you can't handle a jackhammer, it's all good. I didn't really plan on anyone showing up. Part of this was because people have this strange belief that like you need to be searching for something or like needing attention in order to like go live. And that's not the case. And in fact, I think part of it is like I'm trying to get across that I have no shame and other people shouldn't either. It's like, it's not this huge thing. It's like, you shouldn't care. It's not that big of a fucking deal. So part of it was I'm just going to, well, I planned on just fucking spouting out shit randomly and like basically talking to myself because who cares? It's not that big of a fucking deal. Yeah. So it's like people look too far into it and they're like, T-Rob streams alone. And they're like trying to make it into this big thing. I'm like, who cares? Like, what? Like, if you did it, would you be ashamed? Would you be like beating yourself up over it or something? Like, that's pathetic. Why would you give other people that kind of power over you? It's just a live stream. Like, no one could watch this and it wouldn't affect me at all. Like, it means nothing. It's just me spouting shit randomly. It's like the same as if I were to make a video that's not live. And I'm just randomly, like I've made them before, like drunken rambling sessions or something. But yeah, if you want other people to join in or whatever, you're more than welcome to do whatever. But it wasn't like it's not my purpose or anything. I don't really have a purpose. Not necessarily. Oftentimes I make videos that are just for me. See, YouTube is designed to be like an open platform to where other people can access it and shit, almost like social media. But it also works really well as like for instance, my, what's it called? The Kitty Goodness playlist that I have. That is almost entirely designed just for me. Like, I will go back and watch those later to remember my foster cats. So honestly, it doesn't really play that much of a role. It's not about other people, really. I mean, it's there if other people want to see it, but it's not the primary drive. I mean, it's worth noting that oftentimes people will watch afterward, at least a few, but it's really not my goal. It's part of it is like this transparency, I guess. It's like me showing maybe partially to myself and also trying to like teach a lesson to people. That doesn't surprise me. You could probably, like, in all honesty, because you're female, and I'm not saying anything negative about you because it's not like that, but being female, you could probably, like, no joke, just put yourself on video and then just like lean forward just a little bit and show a tiny little bit of cleavage, and all of a sudden you would get like fucking 30 new subscribers immediately, if not more. There's a lot of chat coomers, like fucking desperate dudes who care about nothing but fucking boobs and shit, which has always been weird to me. It's like, this is the internet. Why are you so concerned about like male female shit? Like, to me, it's all ideas. It's like the whole reason why you're here is to discuss ideas. It's Gender, of course, plays a role because men and women think differently, but that's the only real thing that should matter. You shouldn't be here to like pick up chicks. That's so pathetic. And the other way around, to be fair. Although you generally don't find women trying to pick up dudes on the internet, it's far less common. True, and being sex driven is, while it's not me, it's very normal, but it's not so much. Being sex driven on the internet, especially when your primary means of communication is textual chat. Like, what the fuck? It's so weird to me. Like, what are you doing? You're like imagining what they look like and shit, and like even if you see their picture, you're still imagining like details. It's so strange. Why don't you focus on the real world? Not to say that people online aren't the real world. It's just a strange dynamic to be focused on that for like your means of catching women, so to speak. I think other people like advertise me more than I do. It's kind of funny. Like people, I'll be running a live and everybody else or someone, you probably know who it is, but I don't mention names just on principle. They're like, why am I the only person that has liked whatever? Because they're looking to like get things going. I really do not care about likes and subs and all that. It's all just fun for me, and I like to have people to engage with, of course, but I'm not trying to quote succeed. It's just I've never thought that way. It's I don't know, maybe I'm weird in that regard. I'm just looking to have fun, and it happens to be fun to me to have discussions, especially on things that are like meaningful, to me anyway, subjectively. And like you brought up immigration, it's a good topic. Um, and it's different than just, yeah, I like to vent too, but it's different than like being, I don't know, maybe it's me because I've chatted for so many years, but it's not the same to just fucking type shit out and engage in dialogue with people through text. It's not the same at all. Even if it's like a mixed dynamic, like right now, I am discussing things in person, but you're typing. Even that is still, to me, better and more meaningful than just typing with both people in text. I don't know why. It's just more real. It's more profound or meaningful. I think part of it is because I get uh, misconstrued a lot. Text is so ambiguous, especially with the way I type my style, I guess, that people oftentimes get what I'm trying to say wrong. And when you're on video, you have so much more, even if you don't realize it. You have so many tells or cues that like give you more information that allow you to make a better gauge of what they're trying to say through like facial expressions, body language, vocal cues, the things that I always go on and on about. Hermione, come here. I don't know. It depends on if you're trying to save it for a special occasion or something. One beer isn't really going to do you much in the future. So if you're so drunk you're about to pass out, then maybe not. But if not, I don't see any reason not to. I think I have a comment I'm supposed to respond to. Why do people put so much stock on being on video? And that's a serious question. It's not me trying to be passive aggressive and like demean people, because that's not what my intention is. Like, I don't understand. Why do people overthink it from my point of view? Why do they think it means so much? Like it's giving people power or something? Because I don't understand. It's so weird to me. Like, if you don't really have anything to hide, and in my view, you shouldn't. You should own what you do and what you say. Then why would you care? People can be narcissistic. I wouldn't say that all people are, though. But like, if they were narcissistic, though, wouldn't they be more likely to join video because they think they're God or something? Like, I don't understand. Maybe you mean it in a specific context. And I'll be right back. I have to piss. That's not what I meant. It was actually me asking an honest question. I wasn't trying to like bait you or anything. I mean, by the way, you're more than welcome to join. It's actually far more interesting if you want me to leave the link. But that's not what I was doing. It's an honest question. I don't understand in general. I'm not even talking about you. Like in general, why do people overthink it so much? I don't understand. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
I may have to switch to headset. I don't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
I can, but it's still a little low. I'm going to switch to headset. My computer speakers aren't very good. All right, much better. So, what's on your mind?
Nothing much. I'm just I thought about making rage videos, like just like you said, like who cares who watches? Just for me it's like get it off your chest, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
oh, I don't
that's
know. Like
that's oftentimes what it is for me. It's worth noting I'm such a hardcore introvert. I don't talk to a lot of people because that's just how I'm wired. I don't really have too much of an interest in that, at least in real life. So oftentimes I use videos as a way of expressing myself. It's how I let shit out, if that makes sense, which you might be similar.
yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's yeah, I'm an introvert, so uh I'm really drunk, so if I'm slurring my words, I apologize. I had a six pack. This is my final beer
It's all good.
of the
You
six
don't need to
pack.
overthink here. You everything's
Yes.
it's chill. Just be you. You're perfectly cool.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Well, yeah, I'm really an introvert. I can't say kind of. I'm really an introvert. Like when I was young, I wouldn't talk. I couldn't say I wouldn't talk because I didn't want to, but yeah, I could say selective mutism
hmm
was a good word to. Um, yeah, I mean that's it's pretty much like I would get insulted when people said I was shy because it wasn't because I didn't want to speak. It was just because I just had no words to say, and I just really people's small talk bored me.
hmm
You know what I
That's
mean?
that's extremely common among introverts. And see, extroverts don't understand, so they tend to go, "Oh, you're shy. You overthink what other people." That's not usually the case. Well, I should say that's not always the case. Oftentimes, it's about a sort of it's a personality trait. And small talk for most introverts is like fucking kryptonite. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the most offensive shit. It's like because you see, introverts are naturally observers. You know what that means. You know that it's just some shit people do that's completely illogical. They do it only because they feel like they should. They need to, like by societal standards. So they're like, "Hey, how are you doing?" when they really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I see most small talk like that. It's like why a lot of people make fun of me, but I can't fucking stand it when I'm out in public and someone's like, "How about that weather?" I'm like, dude, just fucking don't say anything.
Yeah.
It,
No.
it's offensive almost. It's like stupid.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I've learned to deal with it. I've learned to deal with it. I've learned to just spout nonsense when when they start talking small talk.
I do the same thing because I feel like there's sort of a it's like impolite not to join back. So I do it anyway, but like
Yeah.
underneath I'm like, fuck, again? Why do you people do this? It's like I don't say it because it would make life difficult if I did. At least I think so.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I was younger, I used to be like always like I don't want to say preaching, but like always like, oh, why do people follow the crowd and why are people such monkey see, monkey do type of thing. You know what I
Con-
mean?
conformists?
Yeah, conformist. When I was younger, I was very I mean like in my teenage years,
Mm.
like I would say like why do people follow each other and do this and that? And I guess I mean I don't know how I was seen. I mean people always say I was cool as shit. That's always what they say, but I mean I feel like looking back on what I used to say publicly, like, oh, why do you follow this? Why do you follow that? I feel like I was kind of like a nerd. You know what I mean? Like a outcast almost.
That tends to be the case with introverts.
Yeah.
They oftentimes get lumped into the nerd category,
Mm.
but honestly, in my opinion, this is purely subjective. But I always think people use the term nerd as like a projection of what they feel because they're angry that they feel someone's smarter than them. Because
Yeah, I
that's
think so.
that's that's essentially what nerd is. It just means that you're intelligent. So it's
Yeah.
like someone else is intelligent and it makes you feel a certain way. You're like, sometimes it's not even the other person like projecting superiority or anything. Sometimes they're just being themselves and someone else feels insecure because of it. So they lash out and they go, fucking nerd. It's so pathetic.
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up on the border of like Brooklyn and like northern Brooklyn. I grew up in Maspeth, which is right on the border of Brooklyn. It was a very like tough. You had to be very tough. And well, I was tough in my own way, but I was more empathetical.
Right.
And it didn't serve me well. I mean, I just moved out to the islands about a year ago, and I'm doing way better out here because it's just I don't know. I mean, it's more judgmental out here. Definitely more judgmental. But it's just I don't want to say soft. It is soft, yeah, but it's easier to talk to people out here than it was in the city. It was just
That
I don't
tends
know.
to be the case anywhere in
Yeah.
general. Like the big city, everyone tends to be around people so often that they're almost like in their own world, and people tend to be more dickish. They're just assholes, like in New York, uh,
Yeah.
in general, of course. But yeah, I live on the outskirts of Asheville, which is nothing like New York, New York, but it's for my area, it's the same idea. Asheville's like the big city, and you go in there, and everybody's standoffish and kind of assholes and
Yeah.
very judgmental. But then you go out to like where I am, which is like in the middle area. It's like in the more urban type region.
Mhm.
Then people are more, I don't know, they're more likely to take you seriously. They're less likely to be judgmental. And it's just overall a better time, at least in my opinion.
Oh, I tell you what, I was I was manager at a retail company at the Dollar Tree. Okay, I'll say it, Dollar Tree, fine. Uh, I hate to admit that, but I
Why?
was because Dollar Tree is I don't know, it's just
I
crappy.
for 12 years I worked at a fucking local grocery store as a stock clerk. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? It's nothing to be concerned about. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean I was a manager at Dollar Tree in Queens and then Brooklyn
Hmm.
near my house. The guys were such assholes, man. They wouldn't listen to me. They'd be like, "Who do you think you are telling me what to do?" I'd be like, "I'm your boss, motherfucker."
Right.
And I moved out here, and it's like everyone's scared of me, you know, because I wear these hoop earrings and I have these tattoos and I wear these uptowns or whatever you call them now, Air Force Ones, and they think I'm in a gang for some reason. They do.
I could see that how that would help you.
And they just they listen to me now. I'm a supervisor at Best Buy, and they listen. They're scared of me. I see them when I tell them something. They just their face blushes over, and they they get like stone faced and
It's kind of sad that you have to, and I don't mean you're doing it on purpose, but that like fear has to be the deciding factor because it kind of
yeah.
shows that there's this fucked up gender dynamic at play, especially in the workforce. Like if you're female and a boss, in general, and I've seen it myself, men tend to be more of a pain in the ass. They're like, "You're a
Mhm.
female, you don't tell me what to do." It's
Mhm.
fucking, it's all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I've had that. Well, I've noticed that men are different. No offense, but men are different in the sense that like they have this thing where they have to outdo each other.
That's true.
You know. Uh, and I've noticed it. And they some people just don't like when a female tells them what to do
Right.
because they feel inferior. They feel like there's somebody weak telling them
Mhm.
they feel strong, and there's somebody weak telling them what to do. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but
I know what you're talking about, and I would never be offended by that because it's something I talk shit about all the fucking time.
yeah,
I'm constantly like I see it in chat, and of course I'm weird because I kind of look at like psychological dynamics and text, but still it's what I do. But people will constantly, guys especially, they're so stuck on their obsession with comparing themselves to other men
yeah,
that they're showing their insecurity constantly. They're like, fuck you, dude, I get laid, blah, 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 or fuck you, I would beat your ass in real life. And I'm constantly calling this shit out, but they just can't see it. They're not aware of how fucked up they are.
yeah. And I'm sure they're listening right now.
Yeah, but they'll just make some shit up in their head. They're like, yeah, he's just jealous or something
Yeah,
like that. They'll have some sort of mental gymnastic to avoid it.
yeah. No, I learned quick. I learned quick. Unfortunately, people have to be scared of you to get respect. In maybe in some ways you could get respect without being feared, but
You can, but it depends on the people. Like I've been in the manager position that you're talking about as well in a retail environment,
yeah.
but it depends on the person. Some people only respect people through fear. It's unfortunate, but some people will never respect you, no matter what, unless they fear you.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It
I don't
does.
think it applies to everyone, though.
No,
It's
no, it doesn't.
specific people.
And some people have less, I don't know, cognitive, I don't know what you call it, emotional response. You know what I mean? Like they don't have as much empathy. Like you can tell somebody with empathy, respect this person because so and so.
Right.
But
That's probably the primary thing is empathy.
yeah,
Because I from my own, obviously I'm kind of parroting my own thing, but from my perspective, I led by example. My leadership style was not the typical boss with the arms crossed. It was these people will respect me more if I don't ever ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do.
exactly.
And if I want them to bust their ass because like we're way behind, we've got like fucking double truck because of a snow scare or something,
Mm-hmm.
I'm right there in the fucking thick of it and killing that shit like fucking blood, sweat, and tears, they'll fucking work for me. But and a lot of people respond to that. but some people never will. Some people, like I said, you have to make them fear you. It's the only way. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just the way it's, and like I said before when I was talking about, it's the way you were raised, really. I was raised very tough, uh, by my grandmother, God rest her soul. Very tough, very, I grew up hearing my grandmother say, "You get the best education in jail," stuff like that. And it was just, I seen videos of my grandmother cheering when I punched the doll off my rocking horse,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Uh, so I'm pretty much, yeah, and that's not my natural personality. That's, I take more after my father's side. I'm just an honest person, but at the same time, I have this thing in my head where I have to be tough and people have to fear me. And I don't know. I'm trying to work through that.
I think some of and it's probably it was she meant well, and
Hmm.
most people do. It's like a tough love thing, and oftentimes it reflects your environment. You talked about like a Brooklyn big city area.
Yeah.
You need to be tough to make it,
Yeah.
and that's probably all they were thinking. They're trying to adapt you to the environment, but it you also need to change depending on your location. Like you don't have to be this badass everywhere you go. It depends on where you're at.
Yeah. No, I know. You think like me. You, yeah. You know, I moved out here in Long Island, and I'm doing great. I mean, I'm not. I don't have as much road rage. I don't have as much rage at work. I don't.
Makes sense.
It's just easier out here. I feel like if I grew up out here, maybe I'd have an easier time. But then at the same time, I feel like the benefits of growing up in the city is that you're just naturally ready for anything. You know what I mean?
True, it prepares you. But one thing is that you adapted to a certain environment. Things wouldn't be as easy from your perspective now as they would be if you hadn't went through that.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
definitely a positive from my point of view
Yeah.
because
No.
you have that comparison. You wouldn't have that comparison if you just grown up in Rhode Island or Long Island, sorry, and you had just been accustomed to that lifestyle, and you were in like a less populated region. You wouldn't know how good you had it, if that makes sense. It would be
I
all
know
you
what you
knew.
mean.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. I do. And it's just I don't know. It's just so different, man. I used to ride my moped around Brooklyn and Queens, and if anyone used to disrespect me on my moped, man, I would go up to them, I'd gesture to them to roll their window down or put their window down or whatever. I would be like, I'd have a serious conversation with them, like, "Hey, where do you want me to go? Do you want me to run off the road?" You know? I'd have a serious conversation with these these people behind the behind the windows, and sometimes it got really, I admit one time it got really out of control where I told somebody to get out of the car, and they lied and said that, "Oh, my son's in the car. I can't get out of the car." And then I felt like an asshole, and then I looked in the car, and there was no son in the car. There was nobody in the car.
you intimidated them.
And I'm like, "Get out of the car. You want to fight me. You're looking like you want to fight me." Okay? Because I'm not an asshole. Like, if you don't want to fight me, like, I don't care. But if you're looking like you want to fight me and you're gesturing like tough, like,
Hmm.
like, come on, man. You know?
I used to I completely understand. I used to be that way, especially in high school. Uh, I would look for controversy or look for people that had issues, and I would want them to push it. It's like I was searching for it. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's the case with you and what you're describing, but that was
Uh,
how I thought.
no, not necessarily. Not necessarily that I wanted to push it, but it was just that these people were very obnoxious and beeping and trying to run me off the road.
Oh,
Um,
that's different. Yeah. Yours is
yeah,
more a response to them being dicks.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then when I responded, then all of a sudden, oh, I have my son in my car,
Mhm.
and there's nobody in the car, and you're lying. You just
Tends
don't want to.
tends to be the case with people because they're not very self-aware. They're just impulsively angry because their day they think they're the center of the world and their day goes slightly slower because there's a moped in front of them. So
Yeah.
they lash out and get all pissed off with no awareness at all. I see it as a good thing. You kind of put them in their place and maybe give them a little food for thought.
Oh, I do. I do definitely put people in their place. I'm not a troublemaker. Like, I'm a good person in real life, I think. I try to be. But I try to put people in their place if they're doing something unjust, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see that as a bad thing. A lot of people view that as like you're a troublemaker. No, it's not. Uh, I stick with the quote. Can't remember who said it, but uh, all it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing.
Yeah,
And I stand by that. You have to give negative reinforcement to bad people. That's what putting someone in their place is.
yeah,
It's important. We need more people to do that.
yeah. I I see a lot of that in like old school Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like it's not. Excuse me. It's not. It's not that people have an attitude. It's just that people put you in your place. Like if you're gonna be online, like a Karen, if you're gonna be a Karen in Brooklyn, it's not gonna fly. You know what I mean? Like people are gonna put you in your place.
Right.
You know, that's how I see it. And I still put people in their place if need be, but it's not it's not as prevalent out here. Like I don't have to do it out here as much as I did when I was in the city. Uh, I don't know.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, what do you do? Like I've heard that you been dabbling with streaming yourself. Do you go full video?
Right now,
Yeah. I mean, no, do you in general? Like, do you go full video or do you prefer to just talk in audio most of the time?
I'm talking in audio right now because it's like late and I'm like drunk and I'm
Right. I understand, but I'm just
probably.
asking what you do normally.
Oh, that's most of the time I just either I talk or I just stream. Like I'm trying to get into games like Pal World and all that.
Hmm.
I don't know. Just because I heard so many of people that I'm friends with are on Pal World, so I'm just like, let me give it a try. Let me see what it's like. And honestly, it's not that great, but
Hmm.
it's just something. It's a pastime.
Do you are you looking at it like from a perspective of you might be able to make a living doing it?
Honestly, no, no. I'm just doing it for fun.
Hmm.
Like you said, or I don't know if it's the same as what you're thinking, but like me, I'm just like I like to just get things off my chest and have somebody hear it. You know what I mean? If
Right.
anybody, if even one person hears it, like I'm okay with that. If
Yeah,
one person's on my stream and they hear it, they hear me talking,
that
I'm
makes
okay
sense.
with that. Yeah.
I gotcha. So yeah, it's probably similar to me. Like I don't even require one person, honestly. I don't care, but it is a sort of vending thing. It's like even if there isn't anyone at all, the fact that I was willing to go out in the open and like speak my mind and anyone can watch it if they wanted to, that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's all it is. It's like speaking your piece to the world. If they want to listen, they can, but they don't have to because you can't force people. But like just speaking your shit to the world, there's something empowering in it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely agree. I have people in my store that just come up to me and tell me, uh, like the sales floor is shit, this and that, and I tell them like I can't do anything about it, and they tell me I just want to get it off my chest. I have to tell somebody. And what they tell me is really, I have to tell somebody. I want to tell somebody, and I listen. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh, I just listen. Because people have to get things off their chest. They really do, and it's not. Some people don't have the option of speaking to, especially introverts. Like we don't have the option of always speaking to 100 people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But I think many introverts would do well in what we do. Um
Yeah.
there's a different dynamic to it. It's not the same as being out like in say like a pub or something where there's people all over the damn place. You
Mm-hmm.
control your environment and you're speaking your mind sure to a lot of people, but in a controlled setting to where you're controlling everything. And I think a lot of people can, because there's cognitive dissonance in being an introvert, because we're wired to be social animals, but introverts in particular are not social animals, at least not to the same extent. So
Yeah.
you can use technology to kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And I know that because when I was like 14 in 2003, 2004, when it was everybody had to be a gangster,
Hmm.
um, it was really hard for me that even though I hung out with one particular friend that just had connections to everybody, uh, it was hard to just be out there with all the people. And I don't know, it's just easier nowadays that it's technology driven.
Hmm.
It's easier for me, honestly. I was always very shy and very, well, not shy, but just I just never knew what to say. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I
I
never knew what
understand.
I never knew what to say, and it's a lot easier now with technology. I feel like,
Yeah, it's not the same experience. You're not right there in like the midst of it, and you're not. See, introverts tend to observe so much that they look into the future almost. They go, what if I say this and the other person thinks that I mean something else and shit like that? And constantly things like that are running because you're so, how do I put it? You're so introspective that you're constantly thinking of these what if scenarios. And
yeah,
those tend to go away more, at least a little bit more, with an avenue like this that we're doing now.
yeah,
It, it's just better.
yeah. No, I see. I know what you mean. I really do. I know what you mean. It's just sad. But I mean, when I was growing up, I was just very, uh, I I don't know, different, different. Like I knew stuff about myself. You know what I mean?
How, in what way? Like
I don't know. I
you were
don't want to get into it.
you don't have to elaborate on anything you don't want to.
No, but I just you know I knew stuff, and it's just very depressing. And
Meaning you saw the world for what it was and it's like jaded or something and other people didn't understand.
yeah, I think so. I think so.
I can see that. It's why in general there's a link between intelligence and mental illness.
Yeah,
One of the reasons for that is intelligent people see everything. They see the implications of things that like link to other things that other people won't get. And it's really hard to be upbeat and positive when you see all that's fucked up with the world.
yeah. No, definitely. I always I always said the same thing. That's why I connected with the song what was it? By Nars Barkley in 2006, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of the song. I remember when I lost my mind. You know that song?
Right. I think I've heard it before. I can't think of it offhand, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and he said in the lyrics, I just heard it the other day, and I said that connects with me so much. I said it. He said I was out there, I was out of touch, and it wasn't because I didn't know enough. It was because I knew too much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. It was because I knew too much, and that resonated with me back in when the song came out. I was 17, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and I said to myself, "Yeah, I understand that, and it's scary that I'm maybe crazy, that I'm hearing this and I'm identifying with it, but it's it's true. Sometimes intelligent people they see too much of the truth, and
Very true. It can
yeah,
be a lot of people feel alone for different reasons, but it's one of the most profound feelings of loneliness when you feel like you understand things that other people can't possibly grasp.
yeah,
Like no matter how you try to elaborate, no matter what you do, people like sometimes you'll see it, and because you're intelligent, you'll see that people are like they're just trying to tell you what you want to hear. Like you explain something really deep and uh, complicated, and they'll be like, "Yeah, man, I agree," but you know that they just don't fucking get it.
yeah,
It's very fucking isolating. It kind of puts you. I don't know how else to put it. It's like one of the most isolating things that I can possibly describe is when no one understands where you're coming from.
oh, it drives me insane. I mean, not literally, like I'm not insane, but
Right, I know what you mean. It's a
it
figure of
it drives me
speech.
nuts. It drives me nuts. It just
Yeah, and you'll even try to you'll be like, "Okay, I need to break it apart and make it more simple," but they just can't get it. And it just it makes you feel like why the fuck do I even try? Like should I just be alone and fucking become a hermit and fucking cut myself off from society?
yeah. You know,
Because
you think like me. You really do.
it's not that uncommon. It's just a lot of people keep these things inside. They don't
Yeah,
talk about it because sometimes it's what we're talking about. It's people that are actually like highly intelligent and they see things, they observe things that other people don't. But sometimes it's also just people think in a different way. People, their perception is a little bit askew compared to most society. So if other people can't resonate on some level, it's very isolating. So other people experience it too for different reasons.
yeah,
And it just makes you want to be like, well, why the fuck do I even try? Like, why? Like, I'm not going to play this game where I'm like everyone else just so I can fit in because that's fucking retarded. So, like,
yeah.
if no one connects with me, fuck it. I'll just be alone. Like, I think a lot of people think that way.
I've been that way since I was like 5 years old, to be honest, like 5 or 6 years old. Like honestly, like deep in thought, just don't follow the crowd. You know what I mean? Like that
Hmm.
type of just independent. I've always been like that, and it was a hard road to go down. But I mean, I think I'm more interesting now than if I would have just
That's,
conformed. You know
I've
what I mean?
always seen it as a positive. I think that all people, I think normal doesn't really exist. What happens is people get obsessed with the idea of normalcy. So what they do is they tailor their personality uh, to to make the things that they think are normal more obvious because they're obsessed with it. So if people would just take the things that make them different, because to me, that's what makes them special. That's the important things. That's the things they should focus on. If people would do that, this world would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't see that happening. Most people are so ashamed of the things that make them unique.
I mean, look at this. For example, look at Einstein. Okay. He was somebody who nowadays would be probably diagnosed as being on a spectrum, and
He was definitely autistic. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but nowadays he would be just thrown into all these social programs and
Yep.
not have his mathematical or philosophical or anything, you know, being developed. And I just think that's wrong. I think, I have this view like an alternative to education, like we should test people on what they're kind of good at, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
naturally,
Yeah.
and have them develop those skills.
I
Um,
agree. That
yeah,
that's something we don't do well, especially here in the West.
yeah,
We want everyone to be like this cookie cutter bullshit that like society wants them to be. And
yeah,
if you're not, you're outcast. But the world in general, I mean this even for normal people, it would be better if we were to take those things that you're talking about that people are good at and you fucking you push that. You
yeah,
you
that's what I
you,
mean.
you cause them to fucking explore that and get even better at it. And it don't matter what it is, you can turn it into something that can fucking make the world a better place.
Yeah,
Introverts, for example, we oftentimes get labeled special in school because we are more observant and we don't talk a lot. But if you were to make it to where we take that ability to observe things that other people don't really catch, and we could become fucking great and help the world at specific things, like we would be excellent at being detectives, for example.
oh yeah,
Like there's so many things that people could excel at, even people that you would consider like mentally retarded, like highly autistic people that are like that have like a gift of like mathematics.
yeah. And that's what, let me tell you something. One time you were arguing with me, I don't know if you were drunk or what, but you were arguing with me um, about people with Asperger's and mathematical abilities. And I was saying that there's a difference between people with high functioning autism and people with Asperger's. People
Well,
with Asperger's usually don't tend to have special abilities
uh-huh.
as much. Not not necessarily that they don't. Okay, they do, but not as much as somebody with high functioning autism. That savantism usually occurs in people with high functioning autism.
Uh-huh. So, okay, I don't remember this discussion at all. I'll just be honest. I have a really bad memory, but first, for right off the bat, I could be wrong, but for me, high functioning autism is synonymous with Asperger's. That's what Asperger's is. Autism itself can generally be diagnosed, it's not high functioning. Usually, people who are autistic have serious functional issues in life, but people with Asperger's are high functioning autists.
Yeah, but the
Okay,
thing is,
so go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm sorry. Before the DSM changed it, high functioning autism was designated for people that like couldn't talk until they were like 4 years old. You know what I mean? like those kind of people,
Uh-huh.
not um, Asperger's that might not have been detected until somebody was like 12 years old because they talked at a early age, maybe just had some patterns of speech, but they talked at an early age, unlike people with typical high functioning autism that was said to be people that just couldn't, like I said, couldn't talk until they were like 4 years old, 5 years old. Those are the type of people that usually had savantism.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, I don't know because I'll be honest with you, and I hate to admit this on, but no, I talked at an early age, yeah, but uh, I have like a 90%. I don't know I mean, how reliable this is, but from all the tests that I've taken, and I've taken like tests to get into the Navy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
From all the tests that I've taken, they said that I had a high mathematical ability, a
Mm-hmm.
spatial reasoning, like a 99 percentile, which is ridiculous. Sure. Uh, um, and I don't feel like I'm that good at math.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just me putting myself down. Uh,
If they scored you that high, you're more than like those tests are extremely reliable.
yeah,
You're probably that good at math. You're just putting yourself down.
yeah, I think so. Uh, I just had a lot of crappy teachers in school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it's just something to think about. I mean, I'm a type of person that, honestly, for me, like I'd say my talent would be that I learn languages very quickly because I could see a person saying something, and based on their body language, I could pick it up and just I don't want to say mimic, but yeah, just imitate what they say and know
It,
what they say based on their body language.
it makes a lot of sense. It goes back into what you said earlier because all of that is tied into empathy, and you seem to be high in empathy, or at least you originally were. So empathy basically is the ability to detect those things. You can pick up on emotional cues just by looking at someone's face. And that's also higher in people that are introverted than the average public.
Yeah,
So I agree. I think you should tailor that strength to your advantage.
yeah. I mean, it's hard, because I mean, I'm in a field now where I have to deal with angry customers and
Mm-hmm.
just like I don't want to be, I was doing a vet tech thing
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if it's for me really because it's really depressing.
That's how I would see it.
Yeah, it's really depressing. So I don't know if it's for me. I mean, I'm thinking about switching careers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I was going for school. I was going to school for that. I was working once a week at an animal hospital, but it's I put it on hold. I'll be honest, I put it on hold.
Did you put it on hold because it felt wrong? Because of because of how it made you feel?
Yeah,
Like
I
it
mean, I seen a little. It's stupid to say, but I mean, I seen a little dog that looked like my dog, and we had to put it down.
That's the problem with empathy. People that excel in these surgeons or medical type fields, they tend to lack empathy. And I don't say that in a bad way because they're suited for the task. Uh, if you're a surgeon and you're like under the gun and like everything's on the line and you're highly empathetic and you get attached to the person, it's going to put you in a situation where you might not be able to handle that task as well as someone who doesn't. And by the way, I understand because I'm highly empathetic myself. I
Mm.
couldn't do that, especially with animals, because I get highly attached. I like animals more than I like humans,
Yeah.
as strange as that sounds.
Yeah, no.
So I can't do it. I can't. If I see an animal in like a lot of distress, it's like I shut down. I'm like with them and I'm like, holy fuck, I got to do something. But it makes it to where I can't use my logical brain. And
Yeah.
I'm not really up to the task, if that makes sense. So I think that you should tailor your career to your strengths. If you're highly empathetic, don't try to go into a career to where empathy might actually be a hindrance.
Yeah. That makes sense. That really does. Um, I forgot what I was gonna say, but
Sorry, I probably rambled on.
no, you're good. You're good. Um, I just feel like I want to switch career. But then again, I feel like I'm so old. You know what I mean? I'm like 34, 35.
I've done that myself. I'm almost 40.
Yeah.
I've done that myself, but I can tell you now, there are people that prove you wrong. There are people who fucking like do something that's like absolutely meaningless to them until they're like fucking 80. And then they change, and in less than a year their entire life is different.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as like an arbitrary age to where you're like, well, I can't do anything. You can.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy. It's fucking difficult, especially if you're like me and you're so habitual that you get used to the routine and you just do it because it's like what you think you need to do. And
Yeah.
it's difficult to dig out of that and go, well, fuck that. I'm gonna fucking change something. I'm gonna make a move for like a long term difference, like a long term goal that you want to change. It's harder,
Yeah.
but it's not impossible.
Yeah. The thing of me is I have so many interests that just aren't rational in the terms of making money. Like I want since I was a kid, like okay, Jurassic Park came out when I was a kid and I was obsessed with dinosaurs and ever since then I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I
See,
want to be an archaeologist and
but that's the thing. I can absolutely relate with that, but I don't care. And I can't speak for you. I am not driven by money. Like I want to have enough money to where I'm comfortable, of course, but it doesn't require that fucking much, really.
yeah.
You don't have to make your entire life be about what other people consider success. You can be like me. To me, one of my dream jobs would be to help animals in like a situation to where I don't have to like see them in like great jeopardy or something. Like I couldn't be a vet tech or something, but if I could help animals and know that I'm helping them and making their lives better and also make money,
Mm.
that's the perfect job. Like I don't care how much. It's as long as I can survive, of course. But
Yeah.
my point is money does not have to be your reason for living.
No, I know that. I know that. But it's just that everyone that I've been like talking to about my career path and all that, everybody always turns me away from that. It's like they I don't know. I mean I shouldn't listen to. I'm like,
Well, I wouldn't say they're wrong because they're looking at it from a different angle. They're looking at
yeah.
it from is this practical? Are you going to be able to like make a serious career out of this? But only you know you. So if you're comfortable with the amount of money you could typically make in a specific field and you're more importantly happy, you feel like you're doing something important, that drives you. That's what matters. So, like me, I make fucking like very little. I think I clear about exactly $1,000 a month. That's nothing.
Oh my
But
God.
I'm fucking happy with what I do. That's all that fucking matters.
Yeah.
Like only you can answer that. Where are you comfortable? How much money do you need to live your lifestyle? That's all you need. Like fuck everybody else. I don't give a shit what people think about me.
Yeah. I'm not really into like material things.
Mm-hmm.
Like lately, I've been buying some stuff to do some live streams, like microphone and headset, and
Right.
but I'm not really into material things like so much sneakers and
That tends to be the case with introverts as well. We tend to be more idea driven rather than stuff driven.
yeah,
And I see it as a good thing. People will differ on that, but like in the end, ideas last. Ideas matter. Ideas impact other people in their lives. Stuff is gone when you die.
yeah,
That's the way I look at it.
yeah. You're right. You know, you're right.
So, like my personal advice would be, who gives a fuck what normal society thinks? I've never liked how everyone compares themselves to the majority because by default, by definition, the majority are average and or stupid.
Yeah, yeah,
So why would that be your line? Why is that your comparison gauge? Makes no sense.
yeah. I
Compare
mean,
yourself to people that you fucking want to be like.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty hard when you're in a place like Brooklyn or Queens, and people kind of ostracize you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For being any type of different way of thought, weakness.
I
They
can
like
see
prey on
that.
your weakness. You know, it's very hard to be yourself. Very hard to be me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Queens, yeah, I mean, I speak about it like it was a long time ago. It was only 2 years ago. Um, very, very hard because the people just they prey on your weakness. You know, like they prey on your weakness and they make you like they start making fun of you like this is grade school and
Does
they
it
ostracize you.
does it make it to where you feel like you have to wear a mask in public
Yeah, sure.
just to survive?
Yeah,
I can kind of understand that. I can't pretend like I have that experience. I don't know what it's like to be brought up in that huge public environment, especially like such a tough area.
yeah. No, it's hard.
Makes sense. I
It
mean,
really is. You know, I've been the way I've been raised. I mean, people call you a pussy. You know, it's like the worst thing in the world. You know what I mean?
mhm.
It's like for me, it's like the worst thing in the world. And if people call me a pussy, if people call me a wannabe, you know, it's just the worst thing
I've
in the world.
I've honestly
Mhm.
flipped it oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes I flip it because the person that's overly concerned about how they appear to other people, that person is more insecure than the person that has the fucking boldness to be themselves. And
Yeah,
also the things that oftentimes people call someone a pussy for is empathy. It's what we already said. And it takes way more fucking power and drive to be empathetic toward other people than it does to just be all about yourself. Like it's the other way around. It's almost like they're projecting, like they hate you because they're what they're envious of. Like they wish that they were you or they had the balls to be you.
Yeah.
So they hate you for it.
Yeah. You know, yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that.
Like me, I will never apologize for being empathetic toward people. If that makes me a pussy, I'll wear the fucking pussy badge with honor. Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking stupid.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna have to be honest. Like, I'm really feeling nauseous
It's all good. You're
because
more than
I'm on my sixth beer.
right. It's all good. You're
Uh,
completely cool.
I might have to cut this short.
Go ahead. You should never feel obligated.
Yeah. But it was nice chatting with. Thank you for having me.
Not a
Really, thank you
problem.
for having me.
Not a problem. It was a great conversation, and I hope you don't have a hangover or anything.
I probably will. I
Sorry
probably
about
will.
that.
But yeah, have to use the bathroom very badly now. And
All right.
uh I'll be on your live stream, I'll be in the chat.
All
Uh
right.
but thank you again, thank you for having me, and you take care now.
Not a problem. Thank you for coming on, and have a good one.
No problem.
See if there's anything interesting going on in Space Chat. Oh, there is one thing that I can go over that got brought up recently, and that is the Starshine situation. Now, I don't go over private shit because that's just wrong. But I will say a couple of things, especially because the lies were told. So, one, somehow, because I've dared to say something negative about Star, the immediate response has been, and I think Star had something to do with this, through manipulation, of course, that it's because I have a vendetta because I was wanting her to go video or something, then I'm angry because she wouldn't. And then that's where all of my like dislike for her stems from. Not true at all. As a matter of fact, publicly in chat, various people were around to see it and can attest to it. It took Star quite a bit of fucking convincing to even get me to go and talk via voice in the first place. That's the truth. So it's hard to tell exactly how far I should go here because I think it's wrong to talk about things that were said in private. But, without going into detail, even though I made it very clear that the entire purpose for me going and talking privately in the first place would be, one, it's not really private because I'm recording it. Now, it turns out that it was the first time I had used OBS for recording and it didn't work because I didn't know how to do it properly, which makes everything fucking complicated. But at the time, no one knew that. And I decided to do it under the condition that it be understood that it's entirely platonic. This is just me having a conversation with another person, just like I just did with Angela, just like I've done with various people all the fucking time. That's it. I like to have fucking interesting dialogue. That's it. But instead, it became more of an attempt to get with me. So what I did is I made it clear that that's not what I'm interested in, even though I did so from the very beginning. But she was adamant and kept on and kept on and kept on. So I made it clear, like, okay, this is it. Like, you can either handle a conversation where we can fucking have talk like normal people, or you can like constantly be thinking that like you're trying to get with me or whatever, because we can't have both. I've made it very clear I'm not interested in you in that way. So for a little bit, she kind of played, from my perspective anyway, this is how I saw it. She played like she was trying to like just be like having normal conversations or whatever. But then it fucking creeps back up again. And I'm like, well, fuck it. We can't do this. It's not working. Like, I tried. So what happened is then she started lying. She started telling people that fucking, like, she went, like, had a video chat with me for several hours, which wasn't even true. And then started trying to use the fact that I had a conversation to, like, fucking make Home jealous, who she had like actually been in a thing with or something recently or whatever. Now, I don't think it worked because Home knew that it was all bullshit, but it's beside the point. This is how she operates. This is what she does again and again and again. And some people are just so stupid they don't see it. She constantly has like various connections with people and tries to make them think it's either one of two things. One, she is interested in them and wants it to be requited and will push toward it like extremely until she gets what she wants. Or when it comes to what she would call simp people, she's made it very clear she can't stand simps. This should be obvious to anyone who actually knows her. And those people she puts in a different category. She uses them to manipulate other people. So those simp people, she will pretend like she likes them and actually keeps them on the hook because they're usually desperate guys that oh, Star likes me. Like, oh, and a girl actually likes me. Like, it's pathetic, but that's honestly the root of it. And she will use that and be like, she won't, usually, at least in my experience, she won't directly go and like cyber or anything like that, but she'll keep them on the hook. And when other people like call her out for the shit she does, she will use her like horde of simps. Right now, I think there's only like two, but beside the point, like over time, it becomes more and more difficult for her to pull off what she's trying to do. And that's why she leaves chat so frequently. Because it becomes apparent to many people over time what she does and how she manipulates people and tries to lie and fucking do shit to like get her way. So then she can't get away with it anymore. And then she moves elsewhere. So it's been said that, again, the reason why I even address any of this is because I'm like butt hurt because she rejected me. So completely backward, it was the other way around, and I'm not butt hurt. The topic was brought up before I even showed up. So when I come into a room and someone is like, yeah, all these women are just jealous of Star, the fucking conversation is already open. Like, I don't need to have some sort of defense for me engaging in the conversation that's pretty much the only conversation going on in the chat room at the time. So I'm not going to hold back because I'm afraid someone's going to think that like I'm fucking angry or like overly worked up or whatever. Like I have some sort of vengeance or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, if I think something and the topic is there, I'm going to speak my mind. And to me, the people that are like fooled by Star's bullshit, they're fucking morons. And it's like, it's hilarious how naive people can be. Like, it's perfectly fine if like you have no ill will, but it's because you're ignorant. And what I mean by that is obviously you don't have the knowledge that some of us have. It just means that you haven't been subjected to it. Right? That's a whole different thing. But there are a lot of people who have. And when you have and you know this person and you know what they do and you make excuses for it, you no longer have any kind of excuse. You're one, a moron, or two, and it kind of ties into the first one. You're like a simp that is like being emotionally manipulated to play into this fucking game. And it's possible, at least, to not be a moron and fall into that if you're like desperate, if you're like a fucking pathetic person, I guess. To some extent, I feel pity, but to another, it's like, dude, are you fucking serious? Like, someone has to fucking tell you something because you're being played like a fucking puppet. So I will, as always, if there's a topic going on You can make it look like whatever. You can straw man me and make it into this thing like I'm overly fucking hardcore or whatever. Like I constantly bring her up out of nowhere, which is not the case. All you want, I don't care. But if the topic is there when I arrive in chat, or even if it's like brought up on panel or whatever during a live stream, I'm going to speak my mind. She's not a good person. She's essentially the fucking epitome of evil. And I'm going to make that case over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter how badly you try to pull mental gymnastics to fucking tarnish me or whatever. I'm still going to say it because it's the truth. And it's not because I've been fucking, I harbor some great grudge because she fucked me over or something. Like, nothing that extreme or melodramatic. That's retarded. I don't operate that way. It's just because she's, I was going to say objectively, but that doesn't exist. But from the standpoint of almost every human being, she is not a good person. If you were to gauge, like if you were smart enough to understand what she's doing when she does it, almost everyone would agree that's wrong. The only difference is some people aren't capable of understanding what's going on. And that's where I come in. I said it once in this live. It's been almost 2 hours now. But I'll say it again. It's something that I live by. All it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. So if I see people who manipulate other people to try to get their way, I'm going to fucking call it out again and again and again. You can call me whatever the fuck you want because I don't care. You're a pissant. But I'm going to do it because that's what I do. Should I be concerned that Tex-Mex has unblocked me? Probably shouldn't be thinking too much about it because he does that with everyone. I think I'm going to shut this down at the 2-hour mark, which is in approximately 10 minutes. I was actually planning on just fucking randomly spouting shit that was on my mind, and that was it. But then Angela joined, and it actually turned out to be a really interesting conversation. So it should go to show you that just randomly fucking popping up is not always a complete waste of time. Minute and a half. Time's up, ladies and gentlemen. What the fuck? It's like stuck on live, I think. It says having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection when I'm trying to end the stream. It's like fucking StreamYard is a stalker and it wants to keep watching me. It did it again. What the fuck? I've never had this happen before.